Hello my internet chums, this is Dan here from Blotworks. So it's been a couple of weeks since I did the last video, so I hope you haven't missed me too much. The one reason I've been sort of holding back on the video, apart from the fact that it always takes time and I've wanted to put a bit more time into actually making stuff rather than talking about it, is I've been waiting for my parts to come back from the anodizers. I think you remember from the past episodes how I've used a water jet cutter this time in Halifax to get the parts cut out. So I send my sort of CAD drawings over there, and then they come back here, and then I clean them up, file them all down, do all the processing I need to do here, and then I send them off for their final finish to an anodizers in Colne. So sort of the kind of and I wanted to get these ready for the, sort of this round of prototyping. So it's going through various stages, gradually sort of spiraling towards the sort of the final design. And I kind of wanted, this round is all about making sure that basically the ideas work with the final materials, the aluminiums and the woods and the brasses. But what looked like it should work on the computer will actually work in real life with the real materials. And the other thing is just to check that the real materials look good together. So so I could have, in a way, I could have shortcut this whole process. It's taken 5 weeks from originally ordering the parts to be cut through to the get them back from the anodizers. That's a long old stretch, really. I could have cut it. I could have just taken the cutout shapes and just got on with this stage of prototyping. But I wanted to get them finished so that I could see what they look like as well. So in a way, I could short circuit another round, which is what's it look like. So I thought if I got enough of a combination of the shapes, the sort of 5 different shapes I've got at the moment, and 2 different sizes, big and small, I could at the end of it I'd choose my favourite of those variations, and then I'd have pieces that are close enough to the finished piece that I could then get a real sense of what they are, whether they're working, and possibly even get a few photographs out of it before moving on to the next step. However, the trouble is, of course, it takes a lot longer, and there was a problem, and it's my fault. So I think I've mentioned that it's always a bit nerve-wracking sending drawings off to the laser cutters or water jet cutters, because I'm always worried that I've put the wrong sizes in, or put a hole in a stupid place, or got the scale completely wrong. But this time, because I'm using, it's a long story really, but normally when I'm making my pieces that involve anodizing, for some reason they've always been laser cut, the parts have always been laser cut. And I've used the water jet cutters. It just happens for pieces that are like the Jodrell, which don't actually require anodizing. I just use the natural aluminium finish. So what I didn't do, clearly enough, was specify the type of aluminium to use for this to the water jet cutters, because I haven't had to do that before, and I did sort of mention it, but I didn't really specify clearly. So I didn't know until finally it got to the anodizers, and they rang me up and said, we've got a problem. It's not coming out like it normally does. So normally I get this gorgeous finish on it. It's just like sort of semi-matte, even grey finish. And it gets kind of etched first, which helps give it gives the surface a certain texture and cleans it up, and then it gets anodized, it gets this beautiful thing. Whereas this time it didn't take at all, and so they said quite rightly that I sent the wrong sort of aluminium over, and it turned out that it's a 1 series. You get sort of aluminium alloys are graded by, depending on what constituents they have, in sort of numbers that are in the 1000 range or in the 2000 range, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So normally I get aluminium for my anodizing in the 5000 range. So and I didn't. So quite sensibly the water jet cutters just got whatever aluminium sheet was available, and good quality stuff. Did a really good job. Sent it over to me, and I ended up so the finish is all. Although I'm starting to like it a little bit now, but it's inconsistent, so you can't really rely on it. It's not nearly as nice as that finish. It's kind of a bit shiny, a bit blotchy, and also it's because I've had to pass a lot of current through it to get anything at all. It's started to burn off. So this whole leg here, for instance, has burnt off, and one piece pretty much completely disappeared. So that's no good at all. However, I do have a whole pile of these shapes now, so I've got them back, and they're actually kind of close enough to the original finish to allow me to sort of get a good sense of what's going to work and what isn't. And most importantly, the main thing I need to do is to work out whether, you know, now I've got the actual material here, I know what the weight of things is going to be. So so when I start putting them onto rockers, like for instance this one here, can't really show you too well here, but you of course you very quickly find out where the centre of gravity is. So for instance this one sits quite far back, so in order to get it to rock forward it needs a certain amount of weight. So I had a little bit of a wobble a couple of days ago when I first started putting these together, because it suddenly occurred to me that it was going to be there's more weight in the frame and it affected the balance more than I thought it would just from doing the drawings. Now there's a bit of me which is the kind of artist and the engineer thing. The engineer in me thought, you know, why don't I just spend a bit more time and do the maths, you know, just crunch the numbers or play with the CAD software, which is incredibly clever, and if you know what you're doing you can do all that kind of centre of gravity balance stuff. But I'm no great expert in that side of that particular software, and it would take me a while. And the artist in me always just wants to get the stuff and start playing with it, particularly as my stuff is sort of interactive in a way that it's all about how it feels to use it. So I kind of get to a point on the CAD, on the computer, where I think, right, it's time just to get some bits made, get them on the workbench and play with them. And so 2 days ago when I started doing that, it was like, it's that moment in Grand Design. I don't know if you ever watched Grand Designs, but about 2/3 of the way in, it starts raining ridiculously heavily. They have a baby and they run out of money, and they think the house is going to look shit. And that's pretty much, I didn't have a baby, and actually the weather's been pretty good, but I did start thinking maybe the whole idea is just a joke, and it's not going to work, and I've just misread the whole thing. But I kind of went through a whole day of sort of round circles, and I did do a full circle, came back to what I decided the last round of prototyping, where actually the combination of using the bob weight and the counterweight is going to do the trick. So I've got all these shapes here, you probably recognise them. This is the oil rig shape, if you've seen any of the past videos or got my newsletter recently. This is the golden spiral one, so it's a fuller spiral. This is my ski one, which seems to be quite popular. Turns out this is the best one for various reasons. This one works quite well from a usability point of view, but it's got a lot more weight at the back, so it needs more compensation. This one looks beautiful and it's perfectly balanced, of course, because it's sort of in the middle, but it's quite hard to get at the weight. So I need to think about the usability of that one. I still love the look of it, it's a very simple engineering look about it. This is a bit more sort of and this one you can get the weight easily, and there's not so much weight at the back. Very clean line, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm just at that stage really of playing with all this stuff. In the meantime, while I was waiting for all this stuff, I kind of done a lot of turning brass ready, so I've got various different weights and things around the place. Also been cutting out these beautiful beach balls. I'll talk more about these in a future episode, but drilling holes. These are sort of solid wood balls, so I drill them out on my lathe and actually carve them out using the lathe. But of course they had to fit one of these bulbs, so they gather quite a lot of heat. So spent a bit of time. I decided to drill some holes in there, which actually look fantastic, especially when there's a light inside. So again, it's one of those things where you solve a problem and actually gain a whole load of stuff as well. So I really like the look of that now, and it does the job, keeps the bulb fairly cool. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to show you that I've got these shapes now. I'm kind of busy prototyping on the bench. It's quite fun now because this is when I'm actually getting to see them. For instance, this is basically a combination of materials, and I should have put this together for you to see. You can see one here, but it's not the right combination of rocker and things. But I've used a veneer. I've got this plywood base, rocker base, and I put a veneer top and bottom, so it's got sort of darker wood, and of course it can be any wood, possibly oak. And so put it together with that and a bit of brass and a bit of beechwood. Let's use that. A bit of beechwood there, and I really love that combination. I think it looks really good. And there's I can use different veneers as I say, and I may well I'll probably use different colour shades at different times. But basically, I'll even maybe a bit of copper. I'm thinking about using a tiny bit of copper just as a handle. So that's really exciting. So I think that's coming together. I really like the look of them. I've got to decide which ones to go for because I can't go for all of them for practical reasons to start with anyway. But so I'm going to carry on having fun with this. I'll do another video quite quickly, I think, to just show you some of the more detailed stuff. But I've been talking a lot about aluminium alloys, which may not be everybody's cup of tea today. But it's quite a big deal for me, as you can see. It's kind of I've got to now order a whole load more stuff once I decide what I'm doing. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for listening. So I think we're staying alert now as well as staying at home. So please stay alert, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye.